All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's William Robinson, your host, coming at you guys live today with a little talk, love, and communication. I believe that all situations, circumstances can be resolved through the power of love and communication. We got our special guest today, Shaletta Blunt. Today, we're going to discuss some issues, some trials and tribulations, see can we come to an agreement and get some resolution and some things that's going on today in this world. And I want y'all to thank her and give her a round of applause for joining us today.
Direct mode.
Okay, how you doing now, Miss Blunt? How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, everything okay?
Everything is good.
That's great. You know, we how many years ago we met?
Who? Howard is 29, so what, 33 years ago?
33 years ago. N.H. Jones Projects,
N.H. Jones Projects.
It's been a long time ago.
A very long time ago.
Yes. It's nice to see you here today. You know, I ain't seen you in a while.
Yes.
You know, let me ask you, you know, when you think of love, what's the first thing come to mind?
The first thing come to mind when I think about love, I think about family.
Family? That's right. Family is important. You know, when you think about family, within your family, when you think about the love that you have today, you know, and love is something that's learned, you know, and where did you learn that love from, the way that you love today? Who was the first one that showed you how to love the correct way?
The first person that showed me how to love correctly, I would have to say I had to learn it through going to church.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say that I had to read the Bible and learn the correct way. My mother showed me love. My mother was a defender. My mother defended us.
Yes, she did.
My mother showed us how to be strong.
And how to stick together.
And how to
a
stick
lot
together.
of fights.
Yes. So my mom was always strong. My mom, I asked my mom when I was going through a lot of things, like, do you ever be broken? Like, are you weak? Like, my mom is a strong woman.
Yes, she is.
She's very strong. So my mom, she would always say, I love you, I love y'all, I love y'all. But my mom is a strong person. So to be shown love correctly, I have to say that I learned it like going to church, reading the Bible. God had to show me true love.
And you know, when we think about love, you know, we love the way that the world teaches us to love. But the true love, the true definition of love is God.
Yes.
And without God, it is impossible to love properly.
You can't.
The correct way.
You can't.
You know, I remember, you know, being married and you think you love, you know, you love the woman that you with. And then I remember February the 15th, 1994, you know, when my first child was born. Instantly, when I held her in my arms, I knew that I loved someone else more than I loved the one that just had this baby. Mm-hmm. And you know, and it's like, and then it wasn't until I had a personal relationship with God that I understood that there's a greater love.
Mm-hmm.
And now, with that love, I know how to love everyone the proper way. I know what love is. I can love myself,
mm-hmm.
which translates to loving others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a, you know, a middle-aged woman now, you know, in today's world, you know, what's the main difference you see in the way that the world worked today compared to when we was 20 years old?
There's no such thing these days as unconditional love. When people say, well, I love you unconditional, I don't believe it. Because unconditional love means that you're supposed to love them with their flaws and all. And these days and time, people don't love you with flaws. The moment that you make them mad or upset, we stop loving them. We fall out of love. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is that you love them with their flaws and everything. And we don't show that type of love anymore.
I agree with that. True love is very hard to find.
Very hard. Very.
And it seems as though, you know, the more you show someone you love them, it's like, well, they're going to be there, so I could just do what I want to do.
And some people take it and walk over it. Walk over your heart and walk over your love and take your love for granted.
But, you know, just like you say, you know, you learn the proper way to love after you form the relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ.
That's the only way.
And with that being said, you know, he never gave up on us.
Never.
So it's hard. You know, and sometimes they don't deserve it, just as though we don't deserve it.
Exactly.
And, you know, and some people say, well, I'm not Jesus. You know, they say, be ye perfect, for I am perfect.
That's what the Bible says.
And that's translated as mature.
Yes.
You know, I've never heard my grandmother say, sometimes I tell my grandmother's 91 years old.
Listen.
I say, Grandma, I'm your favorite. She said, I ain't got no favorite. I love everybody. I love all y'all the same. I say, yeah, right. You know, but it's the ability to make each and every one of us feel that way. Mm-hmm. Everyone feel like they're number one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and love is taken for granted.
Yes.
You know, it's a song, say love, so many people use your name in vain. Mm-hmm. And there's so many times that, you know, people say they love you with no action.
Right.
So if you had to replace love with one word, what word would that be?
If I had to replace love with one word. Wow, that was a good question. I would rather have loyalty.
That's right.
Than love.
And with loyalty comes a lot of things. You know, it's like, for the longest of time, that was my answer, loyalty. Until I sat beside my grandmother has cancer. And I sat beside her bedside and I'm watching her fight. And I'm doing everything I can do to make her comfortable. And that changed just as plain as day. And my answer is now sacrifice. Because without sacrifice, that's the Bible says, what greater love is it that a man die for his friends? You know, so if you're not willing to put yourself aside for the well-being of another, how can you say that you love them?
It's true.
And mean it. But with sacrifice come loyalty. You may have a person that's faithful but not loyal.
That's right.
You may have a person that do a lot of things but they're not loyal. What are they going to do when you're not looking?
That's right.
It's the integrity.
That's right.
You know, it's a lot of things in today's world, you know, we feel like we all take for granted. And, you know, I have some things here, something I want to show you. And I want you to tell me, what do you think? You know, when you look at these things, there's a lot of things, a lot of emotions we run. And nowadays we have media and social media and everybody just express out their feelings. They feel like they can say what they want to say when they say it. There's no consequences.
Right.
You know, and I have something here I want to pull up, and I want you to tell me, what do you think when you see this? Tell me what's on your mind when you see this.
That was the happiest day of my life. It really was. I felt love that day. I really did. I felt love.
And what about that day? That's a day, so it appears you that's your wedding day. You got married that day.
Yes, I did.
And you made the statement, I felt love that day. Elaborate on that a little more.
I met my husband in prison. And we actually married in prison. And then he came home and we wanted to do something for the family. So we renewed our vows on our 2nd year anniversary on that day. And that day was a day that was just, it was perfect. To me, it was a perfect day for me. Nothing is perfect, but it was my perfect day.
Right.
And I felt love. I felt that everything that I wanted was there. Everything that I needed was there that day. And I enjoyed it.
You know, love is something that's, when you find that right person, it's just a great feeling. And you know, it's a yearning that's inside. It just can't be replicated. You know, and you know, I myself, you know, I knew my wife previously, but my wife also married me in prison. And you know, I've been home now a year and a half, but this woman came along 6 years. I mean, tearing the highway up.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, traveling from Orlando to Ocala every week for 3 years.
Yes.
You know, didn't miss a visit.
Yes.
In 6 years, twice I called and she ain't pick up on the first time. In 6 years, you know, and she taught me to love in a different way. You know, love is humbling, because when someone do for you that you know within yourself you might have not been able to do for them, it changes your perspective very fast.
It really should.
You know, I broke my leg, and for 3-4 months this woman bird bathed me every night. You know, done things to me and for me that's unimaginable. You know what I'm saying? That you wouldn't think, you know, when no one's there. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
And she done it with a smile on her face. You know, and that's different, and it's a different kind of love. You know, and like you said earlier, sometimes people get mad and they forget about the 20 years I've known you. All I care about is what you just said, and not take the argument or the conversation in the totality of the relationship. You know, but when we read our Bible, it tells us it's going to be days like this.
It does.
You know,
I met my husband in prison, and the funny thing about it is that people be like, oh, you know, it's not as bad. You know, people in prison, they not bad. But let me tell you this. This is the funny thing about it, and this is how, in my mind, I felt like this was my soulmate. This was who God sent for me. He's from St. Pete. He's in a different region from my father. My father was in prison as well. However, him and my father never would cross paths because they're in different regions and they never supposed to cross paths. My husband was in Wakulla. My father was at FSP. The girl called me and said, hey, they moved your husband, and he said he'll call you in a couple of days to let you know where he's at. I'm like, okay. A couple of days I'm calling around trying to figure out where my husband at. No, I don't have no idea. He called me and he said, babe, they moved me. I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm at FSP. And I'm like, what you doing there? He was like, I don't know. They got me here for a couple of days. We just gonna see what they do. I was like, okay, cool. And I started thinking, I'm like, FSP. I said, that's where my dad at. And he was like, really? I'm like, yeah. My sister went to visit my dad. She called my dad out. I was there visiting my husband. They met. My daddy is straight against me. He was like, I'm not giving my blessings. You're not marrying him. I'm against it. You do not have my blessings. I know what they do for people in prison. I know what these guys do with these girls in prison. I'm not saying yes. So for a couple of weeks, my daddy was straight against it. He met Leroy. He spoke to Leroy, talked to Leroy. He was against it. No. He still was no. My dad called me one day when I was home. And he said, Mook, that's what my dad called me. Mook? I said, yes. He was like, you know I find bad in everybody. And I'm like, yes, sir. Here go this talk. He was like, but it's something about Blunt. He said, I'm going to give you my blessings to marry him. let me tell you something. When my daddy gave me his blessings, the next week God removed my husband from that prison and sent my husband to Madison. But my daddy had gave me the blessings to marry him. And the next week they moved him. So at that point, I'm saying, okay, that's my blessings to marry this man. That was the man for me. Me and that guy got married. They sent us to Madison. We got married. I married him in 2016, and he got out 2017. He got out. We was together, and it was going good. Of course, the enemy was gonna come in. The enemy came in like a flood, and the thing about that is that if you're not strong enough to fight that enemy like you say you are, you're gonna fold. And up under a lot of pressure, I folded. He folded as well. And the marriage went crazy. It went haywire. But at the end of the day, let me explain this to you. Not one time did I have to take care of my husband, buy him anything, support him, nothing. When I say he was a provider, he was a provider for me and my kids. That man took care of me from behind the prison wall. That man took care of me every day when I got out. I did not have to work on nobody's job the whole time he was home. To this day, that man still look out for me and make sure that I have. That man made a baby on me, and to this day, he still makes sure that I am okay. He's gonna make sure that he look out for me. I did not divorce my husband thinking that, oh, I never talk to him again. I divorced him still loving him. To this day, I still love Leroy Blunt. I did not divorce Leroy Blunt because, oh, it just was everything bad. I divorced Leroy Blunt because I had to get myself out of it. It was too bad. And I just didn't feel like that he was fighting for our marriage the way I was trying to fight for our marriage. But to this day, I still love Leroy Blunt. And to this day, I still believe that Leroy Blunt is the man that God sent for me. And when God get ready to mend us back together, I feel in my heart that he'll do it.
You know, and that's important. You know, it's if you believe that within yourself, you know, we both know that God honors marriage.
He does.
You know, and that's very sacred.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a marriage between the bond between a man and a woman is the only thing on this earth that God compares to his relationship with his son.
That's right.
And sometimes, you know, like you say, the enemy will come.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's of God, he wants to destroy.
Yes.
You know, and it takes, you know, you are an attractive woman. Mm-hmm. So therefore, for you to understand that you could have easily found the man that's here, you know, amongst you every day.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you was traveling to see this man and you choose to marry this man in prison, I'm quite sure there were people, but you made a choice. And a lot of times we look at only the bad in people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember being in prison one day, and you know, one of my visitors said something like, you know, look at those people, that man or these people. I said, don't forget you coming to visit somebody in here.
Correct.
You know, so everybody in there is not a bad person. They may have made mistakes. And a lot of people that's watching it or know those people may have done the very same thing, just didn't get caught.
That's right.
You know, and it's people that go in there and make mistakes, and we as a people have a tendency to act out in the spur of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Our anger that's built up for years. Mm-hmm. And we do things that land us in a situation, but we can also learn from that situation. Mm-hmm. Me, myself, like I say, I've done 18 years, and I don't think the time changed me. It was the point of sitting down long enough for the Lord to speak to me.
That's right.
And I don't think I would be the man that I am today without that.
Yes.
You know, and I'm thankful. Mm-hmm. You know, and like I say, it humbles you. Mm-hmm. It teaches you respect. And I learned that if I can sit here and listen to this stranger that's 19 years old, 100 pounds, hates me because of the color of my skin, if I can yes sir him and hold my composure and my facial expressions to him, I could do it for the ones that love me.
That's right.
And the ones that I love.
That's right.
You know, and until you walk in another person's shoes, you never know what that person went through.
That's right.
You know, I have some quotes here. I'm gonna share a quote with you.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me what you think when you see these quotes.
Okay. Yeah. It's saying simply that everyone that's with you and acting like they, for you, really not for you. They'll ride with you as long as the car is riding. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you give out a gas, everybody's sitting back. They not gonna ride with you. Not even with the car, just in life general.
You know, and that goes back to what you say, they love you as long as everything is going fine. And it's so rare, even amongst family members.
Yes.
It's so rare. The kids, even the kids nowadays,
Yes.
And I'm so thankful, I have a 29-year-old, 21-year-old, and a 20-year-old. Mm-hmm. So my oldest daughter was like 9, 10 years old. Mm-hmm. The other two was babies, to the point where they don't remember me.
Correct.
And I'm thankful to have them in my life, to be a part of my life and still desire to know me.
Right.
And I'm so thankful that their parents
wasn't bitter,
didn't tell them bad things about me.
Right.
Even though I had my issues, but the core of me always was a good person.
Right.
And they saw the good in me rather than to ponder on the bad. Mm-hmm. And those kids yearned for this man that their mother talked about. Mm-hmm. And they were able to come visit me, two of them was, and the love, they, by them being adults, they try to, you have to act like an adult. My daughter said, well, Daddy, I'm a grown woman, but sometime I want to be 10. I said, well, what do you mean? You can still be 10. You always my baby. You want to hold my hand? Hold my hand. I can't pick you up no more, But, we can, it's humbling, and I'm so thankful, and I learned that hurting people hurt people. So a lot of times when it comes to people coming against you, people that don't even know you, what I mean? I don't even know your name, but you concerned with me. How is that possible? The Bible says that light shines in the darkness.
It does.
And we love through it. They're eventually going to say within themselves, Miss Blunt ain't done nothing to me. I don't even know why I don't like her. Sometimes if you ask them, well, why don't you like Shaletta? Well, it's just, how she is, just something about it. You can't even explain to the person why you dislike this person. So that's within that individual. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get back to this day on this wedding day. You say everything perfect. Okay, so you was already together 2 years, 1 year in, 1 year out. Mm-hmm. So you have this wedding day for the family.
Right.
And everything is good. Mm-hmm. So as you sit here today, what happened?
What I can say that happened was I was my mother. I was strong. Ain't no man gonna control my house. Ain't no man gonna control my kids. I did not pass the baton. That's what I can say.
And it takes, I commend you for saying that. A lot of women won't admit that.
I didn't.
And it's sad that after the fact, you may see it.
And that's what happened.
And I noticed the first thing you said was, I was strong. And a lot of times in our community, we raise our daughters, be strong. You don't need a man. I want you to learn to work where you don't have to depend on no man.
The worst thing a woman can teach their daughter.
That's right. And as my daughters, me having 2 daughters, I teach them how to earn a living.
Correct.
But I'm for what's right. My mom used to always tell me, son, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Son, you can't make a grown person do nothing. So, I teach them the value of themselves. You know, but as a father, I want them to be happy, and they can't be happy. You know, as a man, you know, you want your daughter, you know, you don't want her from this man to that man, so you want to teach her the values that's going to teach her to keep a man. And you know, and me as a man, it's certain things I'm not going to tolerate, but it's hard because, you know, you don't want her to take nothing
at all.
But it's also at the same time, it's the way God made it.
Yes.
You know, it's not God made me a man and he made you a woman, and he made you for your purpose and me for my purpose.
And the man is the head of the house.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. You can't go around it. But let me piggyback on that. When I said I was strong, I was strong. I did not pass the baton. I do not excuse his cheating. There's nothing that I did that's going to justify his cheating. I would not give him the red light, green light, yellow light, go for cheating. He cannot collect $200 and go. I'm never going to excuse that. I will say what I did was wrong, far as not letting him be the man of the house. But I will not accept and say I'm the reason why he cheated. Because what I did calls for us to go to counseling, or him to be man enough to say, hey, this ain't working for me and I want to get out. But I would not accept and say, well, I pushed him out there and made him cheat. That's not an excuse.
You know, I agree with that to a certain extent. You know, in life there's always a cause and effect.
Yes.
And it's one thing that if more people understood this, you know, to a man and a woman, just logically we think different.
Correct.
And disrespect, the worst thing you could do to a man is disrespect him. To a man, respect equals love. You can lay down with this man every night and love him the best loving that you think you got to give, and it could be the best this and the best that, but if you don't respect him, it means nothing. It's like he's going through the motion. It's kind of like, you know, R. Kelly say when a woman fed up, you know, most times in a relationship, before a woman leaves, she's already detached herself emotionally.
Correct.
6 months. You sitting there loving him, cooking for him, doing everything for him, and don't even want him. You know, but for a man, he could love you. You know, everybody have love language. You know, you may be, some people buy gifts. You know, I'm showing you I love you, I'm buying gifts here, like he's not thankful. But that's maybe not his love language. A lot of women like to be cuddled. You know, just, you know, look, but to me, you know, I used to say, to me, it's like when I'm intimate with my wife sexually, it's like, to me, it's the true definition of making love. It's like I'm trying to express my love to you. You know, and it's not about the act of it. It's about not the act in the sense of, you know, it's the act of I'm trying to please you. I desire to see you happy. I desire to see you get to this point, this high point that makes you feel good all over. That's, you know what I mean? And sometimes, you know, when it's disconnected, you know, that's why when a man is struggling, like a lot of times financially, it's a problem inside the home, because as the man, as the provider, his mind is never leaving that. So he may slack in other areas because that's on his mind. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for one part to work when your mind ain't right. You're not at peace. You know, and you know, moving forward, just, you know, if you can remember that, you know, and it's hard, you know, like I say, we've been knowing each other a long time. You know, and you a fighter, you know, and literally and figuratively, and you know, and you ain't taking nothing. But you know, as a mature woman now, you able to see and honest. Sometimes we don't make mistakes until we touch the stove.
That's true.
You know, and he can truly love you, and evidently, you know, as I sit here before you, I can see that you still love this man, you know, and But you have to express that to him. That's where the second part of this thing, love and communication. It's about communication. Mm-hmm. And you know, sometimes, you know, walking out of prison, you would think that, you know, I used to tell, but it started behind the door. Guys used to be like, you know, oh, this woman or that woman. I used to say, man, I could go home and hunt and have sex with my wife the rest of my life. One woman. Oh, you crazy. You can't do it. 18 years with me, you don't need but one.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? And also sometimes in relationships and marriages, you know, amongst men, we always say once you get married, you get less sex than you do when you date.
Yeah.
But it's on that man. See, in my household, that's a no-no. We ain't playing them kind of games. There's certain things that we're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna slack on my duties. I'm gonna open that door.
Right.
I'm gonna provide for your needs. I'm gonna protect you with my life.
Right.
And when that time comes, we not.
See, and I was that type.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I would. When you made me mad, we shut down house. I ain't go to bed. I ain't no. And that was wrong, because the Bible even say that a wife should not withhold.
Except for fasting.
Except for fasting.
And it says, and right after that, it says, and come together, lest the devil tempt you. You know, and you know, I never excuse a man to step outside his marriage, because that's what God says. You know, but you know, and everyone is not as spiritual as others.
Right.
And for a man to come from prison, for how long he was in prison?
10 years.
10 years. And to come home to a wife that he may actually adore, that may be beautiful and that he can't keep his hand off of, and because I cook yellow rice instead of white rice, nighttime you want to hold that against me, you know. But that couldn't have, I mean, every man is different. I'd have been turning green in there. It'd have been incredible hope, you know what I mean? And you know, and it's like the first time you allow it to get away with it, and it becomes to a point when you do a man like that, it becomes, I'm telling you, it
causes a problem.
He becomes numb. So now all of a sudden, when you want to feel sexy, you want to go put on this and walk around, and he supposed to just jump. It's like, man, you playing these games, you know, and men, that's how men. And you have to think about the mindset of a man that has been in prison. You know, he's already been dealing with these games and being controlled by these people, you know, and I'm quite sure in prison, these things wasn't happening when he was in prison. It's all perfect world. He's daddy taking care of things from, it's a extremely, man, I mean, it's a man amongst men. My husband taking care of me in prison. You know what I mean? You got women walking around every day that can't say that.
Right.
You know, and you know, but we live and we learn.
We do.
You know, and hopefully, you know, you can reconcile with your husband. But
I'm not concerned with that part. I'm gonna let God do his thing with that, because Leroy got to work on him, and God's still working on me.
And everything, you know, everything that God does, He's going to do it through a man. Nothing on this earth is going to get done without a man. Even Jesus, God Himself had to come and die as a man to redeem each and every one of us. So now understand, as a man, see, with a man, it's like we have in our mind, this is how the man thinks. This is my wife in this circle here. Now all these women may do this and all these women do that, but not my baby. But my baby inside this circle right there. My baby ain't like them. You know, and when you step outside that circle, we can't comprehend it. We can't believe it, because it's like, you know what I mean? This is the woman that I chose. You know, and out of every woman in the world, this man got down on a knee and asked you to marry him.
That man ain't get down on his knee now.
I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you.
In most cases.
Well, But not in this case. That man was on the telephone.
Oh, on the telephone. Hey, he wasn't able to see you.
Well, what he did was sent a ring and a teddy bear home. And I checked the ring. I'm gonna check the door. Well, a ring, a teddy bear, and a necklace. And he asked me to marry him.
Hey, under the circumstances, that's a power move.
Oh, it was the ring came from Case. It was very nice.
That's a power move.
Yeah, it was a very powerful move.
Yeah, that's almost better. Yeah, that's almost better than
it's better than some of the ones that's out here on the streets.
That's right. You know, so we're gonna get into communicating. You know, so you have now acknowledged, you know, you could have communicated and done things different, and it's different forms of communication.
It really is.
You know, you have facial expression,
and I'm stubborn,
body language, and you know, sometimes you look at a woman 40, 50 years old, you be like, that's a beautiful woman, and you look at her hair, why she's not married? You know, and you wonder what, you know, and that's going on so much today, you know, and it's because of that. Those attitudes and the things that we are raised with, you know, but it comes down to being humble. You have to humble yourself. And, you know, I tell my wife is a very strong woman. She's very strong. And I tell you, baby, I never want to take your strength from you. Right. That's one of the things I admire about you. But you gonna humble yourself to somebody, and I'm your husband.
Right.
You know, in certain situations. Right. Most times, you know, it's okay, but when she want to hold her ground, she'll dig her little foot in. Sometimes I got to put my foot on top of her foot, let her know I got two of your feet.
Exactly.
You know, but, you know, with me, sometimes I compromise more so than my old way tells me, I know how to get my results. But it's not right. I've learned that it's not right. So therefore, I'm going through something that I really don't have to, because I could get my result real fast.
Right.
But I just know that it's not the right thing to do.
Correct.
So I choose to do right.
Correct.
I choose to turn the other cheek.
Correct.
So to speak. You know what I mean? So, and it's hard sometimes. And a couple times I flare up. You know, I gotta, balk a little bit. You know, and and I understand your standpoint, but it's too many times. How can the man lead? You know, how can he lead if, Paul say, follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
And sometimes the problem is the foundation in the household is not Jesus.
That's right.
You know,
he has to be following somebody. He has to be following God in order for him to be leading his household.
Right. The
correct way.
But we have to do what God tells us to do as an individual.
Right.
As a gender. So he said for him to be the leader. Now, whatever leader he decides, God gonna hold him responsible.
That's right.
But it's your job to humble and submit yourself to your husband.
Because that's the man you married.
That's the man you chose.
That's right.
And the Bible says in those incidents, how do you know through your good deeds that he won't be saved?
That's right.
But if you mention him tit for tat, if you do it, I'm going to do it.
That's not what you're supposed to do.
You know, when we do that, it's not right. But when you step outside that box, it's hard for a man to ever look at you the same. He can never look at you as that circle. You know what I mean? You stepped outside the circle. You know, when you step outside that circle, it's very difficult for a man to get that out of his mind, because we as men are mentally weaker than women. You know, and especially when it comes to cheating.
Yes.
You know, it's not right for neither one of us to cheat, but when a man can cheat and have absolutely no emotions, don't care nothing about her, don't know her name, don't care if he ever see her again, if she died tomorrow, it doesn't make him a difference. It was an act of pleasure, and that's it. On the other hand, a woman
There is harm in waiting to treat Hep
The
C.
true word and definition of a woman will never do that without being emotionally attached. And men know that, so that's what hurts us so much. That's what bothers us. That's what we can't get around that. You know, I was talking to a guy in prison, and I had a cell phone, and he said to his old lady, he said, you could give him all the sex you want, just don't give him my heart. And you know, and that's a profound statement, you know, because, you know, me being in prison, you know, a man understand, hey, don't go asking no questions, you know what I'm saying? This woman answering that phone, coming to visit you, may send you a couple of dollars if you need it, make a drop here or there. What more can she do?
Right.
Now, if you 25, tell them kids, you 25 years old, man, you got a 23-year-old girlfriend, man, beautiful, man.
You know what's going to happen.
Come on, man.
Right.
Don't fool. I said, man, you got to get your grown man on.
Yeah.
What you mean, Unc? I said, you got to get your grown man on, man.
You know what's about to take place.
She coming to see you, bringing your child to see you and all that. Why you gonna get on the phone, or hang up on her, and then call her back? Now, when she stop coming, you know what I mean? I don't see them run themselves crazy, you know. When my wife first came into my life, I said to her, you know, I hadn't seen my wife in 23 years.
Oh, God.
And I was on Facebook, and she found me. And she wanted to come visit me. I'm like, well, you know, I really don't get into that. You know, I got a big family. You know, they come see me. You know, I kind of shunned it. But she was so persistent. You know, she was so persistent. And when I put on the list, she never missed another day. She never missed a day.
Wow.
You know, and I told her, I say, listen, you know, I'm a weaker man now. I say, I'm able to be hurt now. You know, I'm vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm expressing this to this woman.
Mm-hmm.
I say, loyalty to me means
It's
everything. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like I say, men are much more weaker emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I'm in a place where I have to keep my eyes and ears open at all times in my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
My environment that I'm in, and I can't afford to be worried about what's going on at home. This woman playing with my mind and this, that, and another.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I have a major attitude that I have to keep suppressed. You know, and I don't want to act out and do something to hurt someone or cause someone to hurt me.
That's right.
You know, and but she stood there, and she was there. You know, and like I say, it was humbling to me. When I walked out there, she told me within about a week or two, she said, I promise you. She said, ask me how long. I said, I got 6 years. And she was quiet for about 10 seconds. She said, I promise you, when you walk out that gate, I'll be there. And November 27, 2021, when I walked out, I limped out that gate.
She was right there.
She was right there. So, you know, what can I say? You know, what can I do? You know, and like I say, I've never been, you know, dissatisfied in my life. You know what I mean? I got lesser now than I've ever had in my life.
And more satisfied.
But I'm more happier. You know, I tell my kids, man, you got a woman that love you, man. What more can you want, man? You know, somebody gonna thick and thin. I mean, when they're proving themselves to you, you know, when you can count on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been, I come home disabled. You know, I ain't worked in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's times where I laid there in the bed, you know, and my wife get up and go to work. It hurt me to my heart. I do what I could do. I don't lay in the bed while she get up. When she get up, I go in there and fix a omelet, hot egg before she go to work, grits, pancakes,
yes,
pack her lunch, put a little hangman in her bag, put a tic-tac-toe in there with her.
Right.
You know, she owe me her lunch and see all, you know, I do what I can do.
That's right.
You know, and that's humbling to me.
That's right.
But, you know, so I know she ain't with me because of,
That's right.
you know, and just think about the things that people do all for the sake of love.
Yes.
Just because I say that I love you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it's hard to have love without respect.
It's hard. It's very hard.
You know, and moving forward, ma'am, I encourage you to. It's hard for us to be homo, and then the era we grew up in, and the fight. You know, like I say, I know you personally. I know, mom. You know, I call your mom my mom.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you know, mom don't play, but mom been married for 30 years.
33 years.
So there's some humbling going on
Somewhere.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's
And
right.
it goes, and just because some men are, you know, handling it behind the door,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Some men handle it on the spot. I'm on the spot
Yeah.
because I got slapped in my mouth on the spot when I was being
right.
raised,
Right.
and that told me. So, you know, but I'm so much humbler. You know, sometimes, you know, I go somewhere. You know, my wife called me just yesterday. You know, where you at? You been going all day. You know, it's like I'm a kid. You know, it's about to get dark. You know, you gotta be in for dark. You know, sometimes you know your eyes be bothering you. You know, and it's
That's
like
concern.
right. I don't look at it as
She's not
control.
checking
I'm
you.
just.
She's concerned.
You know what I look at my partner and say?
I gotta go home.
Hey man, the wife calling, man. Let me go into this house, man. And when I get here, she don't even want nothing. She just want me home. Just want me here. And you know, it's genuine happiness. You know, it's just people. If people can experience the true meaning of love,
It's a wonderful feeling.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And you know, and even after everything you said and how it was, you know, your rebellion, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still acknowledge the happiness.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to wonder from his perspective. If he was sitting in this chair and I said, Shaletta Blunt, what do you think his thoughts are?
I think that he would say that Letta is a good girl. Letta crazy at times. But he never have to worry about is things gonna be done for him. He know that things gonna be in place. He don't have to worry is the food gonna be cooked. He don't have to worry about is the house gonna be clean. He don't have to worry about is his clothes gonna be clean. He don't have to worry about is business gonna be taken care of. That's not his issue. You don't have to worry about is another man gonna be in his house. You don't have to know. He never have to worry about is Letta gonna be with another man. He have to worry about the Letta gonna have an attitude when I get home from work. Is Letta gonna fuss about something? Is Letta gonna nag me about something? That's what his concern is. Is Letta gonna let me be who I'm supposed to be in the house? As far as the other things,
You know, it's funny you say that, and to a man, how a man translate that is, it's like, I believe what makes me know that a woman loves me is not the big things. See, you keep a clean house because that's what Miss Deb taught you. You cook because that's what you saw mama do. These are things that's instilled in you. You do these things whether he's there or not.
That's
So that doesn't, you know,
find the wife,
and that doesn't tell him, hey, you love me.
right?
You know, letting me know that you love me is when I say, baby, what is that you got on? You smell good with that on. And you're like, well, I really don't. You like this one? I say, yes, I like that one. But you really don't care for that. You like the other perfume. And then all of a sudden, when you're not wearing the perfume that I like, it's my birthday and we going out on my birthday and you still don't have my perfume on. See, it's the little things. You know, it's not the big things. It's not that you, whether you a cheat or not, or whether you, that's your integrity. That's who you are. That's the woman that you are. You are still, that's when you look in the mirror, that's just showing your value to yourself. You know, but when it comes to letting him know that this woman loves me, that's a different story. You understand what I'm saying? It's the little things, you know, and moving forward, you know, we have to, but these are things a lot of times men don't communicate the right way. We shut down, and you know, we raised, you know, stop crying, boy, stop whining. And a man, I have to remind myself sometimes that my wife is a woman. And what I mean by that is, when I tell another man, hey bro, this is how I feel, you know, don't play with me like this, or this is my do's and this is my don't. When I tell that man, I only have to tell that man one time. So when he violates my wishes, it is what it is. And sometimes I have to remind myself, your wife a woman, man. You know? And I think that's come from, you know, being in prison so long and being surrounded by men. You know, you have to, you mean what you say and say what you mean. That's how you respect it, you know. And sometimes she don't come at me direct. And it's like, well, why didn't you just say, you know, I can't, sometimes I can't comprehend that, and I have to catch myself and say, your wife is a woman, man. You know, this is the way women think. This is the way she go about it. You know, hey, you see this, you do that. You know, rather than just last week, I was sitting on the bed looking up something, and she was in the kitchen cooking. So she just came in the room and say, I thought you was gonna come in here and sit to the table while I cook. You know, I ain't no. It's my first time hearing about it. So my response is, what do you mean? Am I gonna come in there? You know, so I'm matching her tone. She just really wanna spend a little time with me sit to the table with her. Instead of her just saying, baby, will you come and sit to the table and talk to me while I cook?
That's me.
But that's
the way we do it. That's
women.
our language.
That's the language.
Because we want you to read our mind like, I'm in here cooking, why you're not in there doing it?
Right.
That's what we do. I remember him saying to me one time, I'm like, I cook for you every day. What are you talking about? I cook. He said, you cook, but you didn't cook it with love. It's a difference. Yes, you cook the food, but it's the difference in how you cook that food. You cook that food for the house. You didn't cook that food in love for me. And I'm like, what? And he was like, I know when you cook in love, and I know when you just cook something, you just do something together.
You know, a man could tell, even intimacy, you know, you can have sex with him and he could tell whether you're doing it, you just want to get this over with, you just doing it for him, or you want to do it. And sometimes, you know, they may be like, oh, what you crying about? You know, we done this or we done that, we just whatever. But you ain't want it. You know, you didn't want it. You know, so to a man, that's rejection. I may as well have not done it. Especially when a man loves you. You know, when a man loves you, and remember now, we are much more weaker emotionally. We play tough. You know, we stronger physically, but mentally and emotionally, we're not.
I used to write my husband letters in prison. He could tell in my handwriting whether I was upset or whether I was calm when I wrote that letter. That's how much he studied me. And he used to be like, when you wrote this letter, you was mad. And I'm like, how you know? He was like, when you write bigger, you mad. You trying to get it out. When you take your time and you write it smaller, you in a calmer space. I never noticed that about myself until he brought it to my attention.
You know, when a man in prison, his job, I can close my eyes and open them for 2 seconds and close them, and I see so much. I discern and decipher so much just that fast, because that's your very livelihood depends on you being able to understand what's going on around you. And you know, when you're in prison as a man and you yearn for a woman, just to touch, you know, just to touch his hand, just to just a simple touch from a woman, the touch of a woman's skin means so much. We yearn so long to have that. So our job is to study and discern. That's why you can't get over. That's why you can't. It's hard to get a man that's coming out. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no getting over on him.
I used to bring him food from home. In prison.
Yeah.
He had already ate my food. Right in the prison. I used to sneak it in there.
Yeah, I had a couple meals myself.
Yeah, I used to sneak it right in there. Because I wanted him to know what he was, coming home to. And I remember our first year anniversary. My mom gave me $50 for our anniversary gift. And I went to go visit him. And we had salad. I cooked us some steak and some shrimp. We cut it up and put it in there. We had our juices, and that's what we had for our first year anniversary dinner.
When you're in prison and you do a little moving and a little shaking, you can get a lot done. You can make a lot of things happen.
You can.
And to a woman don't take that. Like, there's a lot of different things in a man that attracts a woman, that makes a woman attracted to him. Sometimes you may see a beautiful woman with a man, you be like, how in the world he get her? What the world? And your friends may not understand, girl, you with him or whatever. But this a man's man.
A real man.
Girl, you know how I feel when I'm in his arms? You know how I feel when I sit and watch him interact with other men and everybody respect my baby? And it's things a man's man, we had a saying, real dogs run the yard. You may have a chihuahua run out there and chase people, but when you walk that pit bull down that road, that chihuahua ain't running out there. How he able to know that he know what that is out there? And even amongst men know who is who.
I'm telling you, they do. I went to the prison one time. I tried to take my husband he liked cappuccino. Mm-hmm. And every time I went through the thing, I buzzed. Kept buzzing. Now I'm panicking. She kept searching me. She go get the sergeant. They come back. She come back. She say, I keep buzzing her in, and I done searched her, and she keep buzzing. She can't clear the metal detector. Normally, that's time they turn you around and send you back. Mm-hmm. Sergeant came down there. He said, who she visiting? She said, Blunt. He said, let her go through. I don't got no problems with him. Went through.
Yep.
So when you a man's man, like you said, they know who run the yard.
They know who
I
run
never
the yard.
had problems.
And a lot of times the alpha males keep peace.
He did. He's a humble person even to this day. Leroy is not a violent person. He's laid back and humble. Mm-hmm. See, I was the aggressor. I was the firecracker. He was the. We go out to restaurants and people don't do right. I'm the one just snapping.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that it's possible for a woman to love a man without respecting him?
No. No, I ain't gonna say that. She can love him, but is he gonna reciprocate that? Is the question. How is he gonna respect her when he know that she's not respecting him? It's gonna be hard.
I'm a humble person at this stage of my life, and I've always been loving, but I've always kind of like been aggressive, like to the fact of I got these rules and this how it's supposed to go. If I believe that that's how it's supposed to go, I would stand on it. And it's almost me, from my standpoint, I almost blame the man because you allowed it. If you have a wife or a spouse that does these things, it had to be it's a testing point. It is no different than your husband do something to disrespect you. The first time he do it, that's a power check.
Yeah, I feel I agree.
So if you don't hold your ground, you don't you
He
know,
gonna do it again.
he's gonna do it. I tell my daughters, I say, baby, a man ain't gonna respect you no more than you respect yourself.
I say it all the time.
You know, and it's things, and women, I've done some things. If she sit there and let me do it,
I'm gonna do it again.
I don't. Some of those, you know what I'm saying?
Slimy and stuff. Knowing I know that I shouldn't do it,
Right.
but because you allowed me to do it, I did it again. So yeah.
So with that being said, the first time that, you know, you might have, like, to me, if I walked out the door from prison and you're my wife and we're laying there and you got mad at me at the park earlier, now all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock at night, you know, I come out the shower. I mean, I'm married. I don't supposed to go to nobody in the world but you. See, my rule is if you don't want to do it, lay down. I'll be done in a minute. But one thing I'm finna do, see, it's gonna be understood that, well, that's just, you gonna say, well, that's just how William is, you know. But that's gonna happen because, you know what I mean, you can't allow, you know, and it's vice versa. I've been with I've been with a woman before that calls me. I might be out in the streets or something. She called me, I need you to come home now. Everything all right? Come home now. Because we got kids. I don't know what's going on. I fly home, close the door. I close, what's going on, baby? She said, I want it now. Baby, I want it now. Just as much as it's her job to please me, it's my job to please her. And I believe that wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? Who else she
gonna call?
Yeah. I mean, and you have to listen. Some men don't listen to their wives. You know, a woman will tell you, you don't have to ask her, baby, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? If you've been listening to her all year,
you know what
you should be able to figure. I mean, you got to know your wife. And vice versa. You know, most of the time, women do the studying. You know where your man like this, or like you say, I'm gonna go and have this laid out. He likes to do this in the morning. He like to do that. So you have everything laid out. You know, those are the things that let him know that you love him, without any type of communication. Once he see that you like, once he see that you saw him, you know, he didn't even tell you, he didn't express, but you just noticed that he always do this.
Mm-hmm.
Or every time you sent him to the store, he always came back with that kind of drink. Mm-hmm. You know, some simple things. Mm-hmm. You know, and those are the things, you know, but sometimes men are very guilty of not communicating the right way because we shut down, you know.
That's true. And
in most relationships, men are not like that in the beginning. You know, it comes with the fussing and the man want peace. If a woman knew what a man go through on his job on a daily basis,
right,
especially us, man, we you know, we dealing with, we got the smile in this man's face, and
knowing that they don't like
you know, because submission to a man is going to that job every day. When if he was by himself, he might not even go. But true. He know he got a wife home to take care of.
Right.
That's his form of submission.
Right.
And then when he walked through the door, the person, the very person that he's fighting to love so much, you know,
he's fighting against him.
She fighting against him, and it's hard.
It is.
It's hard, you know, and sometimes we, as a people, we look at words like depression and bipolar. We look at these things as bad words.
It's real.
But it's real, you know, and sometimes my wife, she said to me a few times, really my wife, I don't see no signs of bipolarness in my wife. You know, like the switching and stuff. She's very consistent. You know, she's the same.
I struggle with depression.
You know, and me, you know, not being able to work, you know, it bothers me. But see, we strong, little. Mm-hmm. We come from a different era, a different breed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the same fight, you stood up in that man's face and told him, you don't run my house, this the way my kid, dot. You got to stand up in the face of the enemy, which is the devil, and tell him it's those same things. And sometimes the depressions come from guilt. You know, hey, I'm sitting here, I ran off my good husband. You know?
My kids went to jail. I could have did this different. I could have did that different.
And these things, they're all out of your control. Well, you might have had some hand in, but when it comes to the kids and with boys, it's hard to raise sons without fathers. Man.
Very hard.
You know, I just talked to my daughter today, and I had my grandson here 2 weeks ago, and he growing, he getting big, you know. And then with me not, you know, my little disability, it ain't gonna be long for he figure out, hey, man, Papa can't do nothing. You know, so I got to go ahead and go ahead and break him now. You know what I'm saying? And before these kids start talking back again, and you know, and my daughter, she said today, you know, Dad, it's starting to get, when he was younger, it's one thing, but it's starting to get hard. You know, and I got to step up and take up more time. You know what I mean? Because these are our young men. Man, you know what I'm saying? And
they need all men to be in their life at this time right now.
And sometimes the kid, you know, my mom got 4 boys, and I think about now that I think my mama got 4 diplomas in her room right now. You know how hard it is to raise 4 sons and each one of them graduate from high school, never stay back a year. But it's one thing my mama didn't play about that schoolhouse.
That's right.
Or you want to act up in school? You think you gonna wear them new shoes to school?
Oh no, sir.
You know, all that, well, you used to say she sent him to school with them shoes on. That's what bad kids wear.
That's right. And that's what the problem is with us parents these days now. We are too busy trying to be our kids' friends. We are, oh, don't say none of my kids. Oh, ain't nobody finna do none of my kids. That I'm telling you, that's the problem that we're having now with these kids. We don't want nobody saying none of our kids. We put our kids in grown people business. We uphold our kids when they're wrong. And I'm not just speaking on just anybody parents. I'm speaking of myself too. We are our own kids' enemy, and we don't understand it. We are the problem as parents. We play with our kids. We let our kids say all kind of stuff. We laugh at them when they cuss, when they're young coming up. That stuff is not cute. We are the problems for our kids these days. We fight with our kids. We fight. We get out there in the streets. We get on there. We see our kids make all kind of stuff, Facebook posts. We see our boys with guns on Facebook. We laugh about that stuff. We ignore it. We act like we don't see it. We let it go right past our eyes. We ought to be doing something when we see our kids. What business do our kids got posting guns, young kids that shouldn't even be having guns in your home? We see them with guns on social media, and we say it's absolutely nothing about it. We act like we don't see it, and then as soon as somebody make a post about it, say something about it, oh, they need to mind their business, don't say nothing about my kid. Or if the kid's short in school, oh, they just pick it on my kids. No, they're not. Our kids are doing those things because they see us doing stupid stuff, and they hear us saying stupid stuff.
You know, and with the men, every male child yearns for his father.
Every male child.
You know, and they're hurt. I don't need him. I got my mom, man. My mom and my dad. But that's just hurt.
That's hurt.
That comes from a place of hurt.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
And the sad part about it is that women make excuses for deadbeat dads. They sit up and say, oh, yeah, it's okay. Let me tell you something. When these men is not acting as fathers in their kids' life, then you need to be getting your kids involved with some type of things, like such as Boys and Girls Club, like some mentoring where men are there and involved. These deadbeat dads, they run in and out them kids like they still run to the clubs at 40-some years old. What example are you setting for your kid?
But also, you know,
Geico? As our starting point guard.
As a man child, you love mama. You know, that's the first person you love is mama. And as a man child, you're gonna always protect mama.
It's an insurance company.
And it's not until you get older you realize mama ain't really so innocent.
That's true.
You know, and we blame dad for not being there, but
Sometimes mama keep dad away.
that's mama. A lot of times it's mama's fault. A lot of times mama literally ran me away, or mama cheated on that
Daddy,
person,
yeah.
or mama just
Or wait and just settle for flavorless fries.
is a hard pill to swallow.
Right.
And as a man, he'll grow up to see it. And that's why he'll see it, but
Nacho fries are back. Get
don't acknowledge it because that's mama. And therefore, when we go and we get our young lady, we really mad at mama.
But you take it out on
And hurt
her.
mama, but you take it out on this young lady who might have grew up in a perfect home. And Lord forbid if you get a young lady that had her mother and father there, she's more prone to hold on to you. So we just do, you just, oh my God, I can do her any kind of way. Because she's trying to do right, because she's going by what she saw mom and dad in a healthy relationship. You know, and we have to be able to guide and lead and guide our sons. You know, and my son tell me, he say, Dad, my his mom done an excellent job with him.
Yes, she did.
You know, but he tells me, sometimes with tears in his eyes, he don't repeat it to me. He'll say, well, Dad, I know I'd be different if you was home. You know, and that's on more than one front. In different type of situations that's going on when he say this, different type of conversation. So, you know, he says, you know, I know the man you are by, even from, he always came to see me in prison and I always tried to shape and mold him even from prison. And he's appreciative enough to, when he clings to every word that I say, because this man, I go to see this man a couple times a year. You know, when he say something to me, it's gold.
Right.
It's born, you know, and I've always encouraged him, always told him I love him,
Yes.
you know, and one day we was riding, I say, well, son, what do you think about Daddy? You know, he say, you got a big heart. You always put other people before you. He say, it's like you never go through nothing. You never struggle. You never get mad or no nothing. And I'm into going through more things now than I ever have in my life. But you know, it's the way he see me, and it's who I am. My strength shines and radiates, and he sees that, you know, because he feel like that because I'm always encouraging him. You know what I mean? And I try to tell them my mistakes. You don't have to go through the things that I went through. But I also know he's a boy, and sometimes you got to touch that stove.
And see it.
I tell his mama, Tanika, he's a boy.
Let him do it.
Sometimes you got to touch that stove, and you cannot come running to him with the alcohol and the pads all the time. You understand what I'm saying? He's a boy. You have to let him learn, and you know, but it's a motherly instinct.
It is. That's what we do.
You know, but that's where sometimes when the relationship fall out between you and I, as the parents, we have a disconnect with the child. So therefore, we're not on the same page. So he come to me when he want this, and come to you when he want that. And I remember when I first married my wife, my son was like 14 years old, 13, 14. And, you know, she had a problem with, you know, the mom being able to come see me, bringing him, and you know, and we just getting married. You know what I mean? This woman is great to me. But there go me again, standing on what I stand on, and I'm not taking her off the list.
Yeah, that's my.
Because that's my son's mother. Well, I bring him up here, but everything is not your business. You know, my son cared for her, and she cared for him, and she always brought him, and she adored him and everything, but in the end, that's my son's mother. And everything is not your business. When I ask him, well, son, how you doing? You taking care of you, respecting, you doing good in school? Yes, sir. See, but when he's talking back to his mom and she's sitting to the table with all three of us sitting to the table, and she say, you did it, that means you did it. And you ain't gonna talk back when I'm sitting there to this table. You don't justify nothing. When she talking, you don't talk. And see, that's what he have to see that and understand this how it goes, and we're on the same page. You know, and when you make that clear to a child, you know, hey, daddy said that, or even from home, you know, his mom would say, well, I'm gonna tell your daddy. And more so, not so much that the fear for me, it was the point of the disappointment. I didn't want to disappoint my dad. You know, that's important, you know, and so let me ask you something. So I'm gonna show you a picture here, and I want you to tell me what this means to you. And who is these people to you?
That's my heart outside of my chest. Those 3 little boys. I love with everything in me.
That's right. You know, family, in the beginning, I asked you about love when you said family. You know, when we think about family, we have our mom, our dad, you know, our siblings. Then when you have your kids, man,
It's a whole different type of love.
you know, kids, you know, and life changes because you know that I no longer live for myself. You know, you realize that this child bear existence depend on me. You know, I just can't get mad at this person, just go flip out and do what I want to do. I have to think about this kid, you know. And sometimes them same kids grow up to talk back, man. And it's like, I can't, you know, and it's not until they have kids that they understand. But we went through our stage where we did a little flipping back too.
We did.
We got knocked around.
Right.
Nowadays, you know.
They don't, but we
Yeah.
did. My 3 boys, with them, they all are different in their own way. My oldest one, Howard is he could be a hothead, but he's a humble person. You get me? He hothead and humble at the same time.
Trust me, I know.
He can go from 0 to 100, but he also will give you the shirt off his back. Like, he loves very hard. He love it. When he has friends, he love his friends. He's the protector of his friends. Now my middle one, Amarian, he's that's my laid back child. He's cool with who he's cool with, and he just, that's who he is.
Yeah.
He just don't really fool with people. He cool with who he cool with, and that's just it.
Yeah.
My baby boy Jaheem, he's a funny person. He make friends with people. Him and Howard is similar, but he's not a hothead. But him and Howard is similar for his friend wise. Like, they'll make friends with people. And they all love their mother and adore their mother. They all do that. And my middle one is a mama's boy though. Howard and Jaheem is a grandma's boy. The middle one is a mama's boy.
From my experience, you know, me being the oldest child, you know, I remember when Howard was a baby, when he was pregnant with him and everything. I know his dad also.
Right.
You know, and it's something about being the oldest son. When you the oldest child and you the oldest son, it's like you just created to be a protective mama, and you know, being young and things that he might have seen. Sometimes we see things we shouldn't have saw. Mm-hmm. You know,
and he did.
And you think that, oh, he just a boy. He don't remember that. He do. He don't remember that. But a lot of times we do.
Yeah.
And we don't say nothing. We can't say nothing because we can't help. And a lot of that anger comes from not being able to protect you.
He said that to me.
The way that he felt like he should have. So now it's like that I'm able, if anybody do this or do that, I'm gonna protect them. And that's where it seemed like the hot-headedness come from. It's like the love is there, but you know me from the past, and so it's the same thing. And as I examine myself, I remember looking in the mirror and I said, well, Lord, why am I like this? And he revealed some things about myself to me. And it don't help this music that we listen to.
No, not at all.
Because we as a people always, music is a part of us. It can get you in a certain mood. When we listen to this old music, it affects us, and the things we see, in the world he's living up in now, but a lot of things stem from what we saw as kids.
That's true.
And the things we were exposed to.
That's true.
Like you say, he got the kindness, and that's who he is. And I think about my past relationship. I say, man, Lord, no women had to love me. My goodness, you know what I mean? But they saw this person that I am today. It was pieces of him there. And I just really respect them. You know what I mean? I really have a lot of love for those people.
Yeah.
And respect them, and for me dealing with being immature and not understanding my true feelings and emotions and not knowing how to deal with it and cope with it, not meeting my dad till I was 13 and watching my mom go through things when I was young and fighting through it, being built to listen to this JT Money and this Ice Cube, Trick Daddy and all this Too Short and this treat of, all these old things, and it greatly influenced me.
Yes, it was.
And but I'm here to encourage you, man. Believe it that, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There.
It'll come out as he mature and understand himself more. And the right woman, man, the right woman changes everything.
That's true.
Men may have a power in the world, but the way the world operates depends on a woman. You got to judge. He married with his wife before he left the house. Everybody might get 20, 30 years.
And that's true.
But his wife took care of him, and he got a new fling on the side, and Lord have mercy, everybody get probation. It's just like that.
That's true.
And it's sad, but it's true.
Sad but true.
King is the king, but the queen humbly runs, make all the decisions.
Surely do.
I also seen something on Facebook, a picture, and I want you to tell me about this day and tell me about this moment and the things you were feeling and going through at this point in time.
New beginnings. I was at a new place in my life. I was healing, glowing. I was at my forgiving stage, and it was like, whew, I was able to woosah.
So, what is this occasion on this picture?
It was my birthday.
Your birthday?
Turning 46.
46.
And I was not going at 46 with so much of I was literally giving it all up. Like, you know what? I can no longer have this much pain, this much madness, this much meanness, this much, anger in me anymore. I gotta release it, let it go. And that's what I was doing. Like, literally saying, you know what? I'm releasing, I'm giving it up. My husband, when he had the baby, and I was like, I always be like, I'm never gonna deal with that baby. I met that baby, and I literally fell in love with that little boy. You hear me? The Bible says that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord. And I never understood that in that situation. I'm like, that was never going to work for me with that situation. This baby was made on my marriage. When I tell you that baby is such a baby that you can't help but love him. He's a loving fella. You if you don't love him, you a fool, because he has like you can't help but love him.
Right.
He's a cool kid.
Right.
Like, and I like me and his mom probably would never see eye to eye, but that little baby, I love him.
And you know, the baby didn't ask to be here.
He didn't.
And
And he don't have nothing to do with what happened.
right.
He couldn't control who his
the baby
parents is.
is innocent.
Very innocent.
You know, when we reflect, it's so much that, I tell my kids in life, I say, ain't no sorrows in life. They don't want to hear I'm sorry. I had never had a speeding ticket. 21 years. Bam. But I kept asking for it and asking for it. You know what I'm saying? In life, you don't get to go do no redos. You can't go back and live yesterday. You can learn from it. And sometimes the consequences is just something we have to deal with,
And live through it.
It's consequences, and try not to make that mistake again. With that being said, after this podcast, tell me some ways some pointers that you have taken from today, some things that, you may look at a little different. Maybe it may have been something that was said, or, a quote that was given, or maybe something you said that something was in you, a realization that you came to, or talking about certain things.
Well, today with the podcast, I'm just learning, like you said, we have to just learn to take every day, day by day. And even like with you were saying, like with Howard, like you have to look yourself in the mirror, and you have to just be real with yourself. And there is no such thing as, oh, you ain't gonna make no mistakes, because we make mistakes daily.
That's
but
right.
You have to learn from your mistakes, and we can't be so judgmental, because that was me. Oh, this happened. Get out that pity party. You gotta get out of it. There's no way you can stay in the pity party, because yes, this happened. But what are you going to do now that it doesn't happen? You got to come up. The problem is here. What's the solution?
Exactly.
You got to come out of that. Oh, you can't roll over and die.
Yeah.
Get up.
You got to fight.
You got to fight. There's no more laying down on the thing. And like for a long time, you'll find yourself, and you'll get yourself sick because you're so focused on the problem.
Dwelling, like you say, dwelling on the problem is not going to change anything.
It's not going to change anything.
You shouldn't even go to a person with a problem if you don't have a solution. You know what I mean? If you telling him, if you go to your husband and say, baby, I'm not happy, and he say, well, what's wrong? You got to be able to tell him. You should already have had this conversation in your own head.
You know why you're not happy.
You know when you don't stay that too late. Deb told you to come be home at 12 and now it's 2. You don't talk about this 5 times. You don't say, well, I'm gonna say this, she gonna say that. But
you pretty much know how people.
The first part anyway, and then you kind of freestyle it from there. And those are great pointers. And love equals respect.
It does.
Sacrifice, loyalty, all these things fall under love. And from me to you as a friend, person that known you most of our lives, and to any young ladies that's looking at this show, and it goes both ways. But to a man, respect equals love. Mm-hmm. You say sometimes he show his homeboy more love. You tell him. I remember I used to tell my cousin, we were screaming clothes, and I was like, all right, man, I love you. We would tell each other we love each other. Sometimes we wouldn't say it to the young lady or whatever, but sometimes she might be the third string quarterback, but she don't know she the third string quarterback.
Right.
I really don't love her. I just didn't say that at the time. If I didn't say it.
Right.
And get mad at me. You tell him you love him. I'm the one doing this for you and doing that for you. Because respect equals love to a man. You know what I'm saying? I can count on this man. This man respect me. This man is loyal to our relationship. And that equals, sometimes, like you say, your son is a protector of his friends, those that are loyal to him and those that are weaker than him, because sometimes it results back to when I couldn't do nothing, when he was weak and he felt like he needed to do this for mom and do that for mom and he couldn't. So now when I see someone in the position mom was in, I'm going to take up for them.
Yep.
You know, and
Yep.
and that's a great trait to have, but he just got to learn how to harness it.
Yes.
He have to learn how to harness it and figure out how to communicate properly.
He does.
You know, and women have such a profound ability to shape and mold their male sons. You know, women manipulate men, you know, little girls manipulate daddies. They start
All the time, right.
Yeah, they, you know, they manipulate us. You know, mama say no. See, I was the one that, you know, mama say no, I'm gonna sneak and give you the cookies anyway. I'm gonna sneak. You know, that's the kind of dad I was. You know, but I was firm. You know,
to slow down and breathe.
so you know, moving forward, you know, we know that we agree that love
Sweat it out.
is loyalty,
Yes.
Get a deep tissue.
love is
and
commitment. And we look on this wall here, you know, we have a lot of positive sayings. You know, we got love, body language, communication, eye contact, commitment, admiration, sacrifice, family, affection. These are the traits that we try to display on a daily basis. You know, I used to, when I first started my walk in Christ, amongst us that was trying to change, and we catch ourselves doing something or saying something, we would ask the other person, hey, Shaletta, what spirit is that?
Right.
Because we don't look at certain things as being bad, but everything is driven by a force.
It is,
a spiritual force. We live in a spiritual world. We are spiritual beings.
That's right.
So one or the other spirit is driving us to do
Or say that.
or say whatever. So when you say what spirit is that, so if you're not displaying some of these actions, you check yourself
Exactly.
on what spirit that is. You're like, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? And you
Yes.
owe that to yourself, you know, and it's just that simple.
Right.
You know, all these commandments, the whole Bible, Jesus says something up in it. Doing the others as you want done unto you.
And it sums it up.
It's just as simple as that. You know, and expectations gets us in trouble because that sums up the whole definition of love. You know, if you want to say something to the people, to the audience, you know, I want you to look into this camera right here and say a few words.
All I can say is that, you know, love, live, and laugh often as possible. We living in our last days, and it's just time to just try to love on one another and forgive as quick as you can, because, I mean, time is winding down, and it's time for us to just start loving on each other more than what we have been doing.
Mix.